Basement Politics with my dad, Freddie Vasquez.
You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddie Vasquez.
Good evening, folks. Unfiltered. Tonight, I want to go over the budget review. The New York State Comptroller. And let's discuss what he has to say in regards to our budgets. And I will also talk about our educational expenses. Good evening, folks. Freddie Vasquez. I want to come on. I was doing some research on the internet, just kind of doing some research. Just looking online for stuff, and I happened to come across some of these sites here, and I thought it'd be a good thing to present on the podcast. Good information to know. And so I want to share that with you because many times, we hear the city council members, they have meetings, they discuss, different topics, different issues that are going on in the city. Obviously, one of the big ones is the budget. That's their primary responsibility to review the mayor's budget and get one approved. And so we hear this and we sometimes, we try to watch. I know I do. And we don't always understand maybe all the details of what it is that they're discussing or what is in the budget. So, we don't really know too much, right? So they can be, saying things that we can just agree with or say, okay, yeah, whatever. We don't really know because they don't give us much details. They don't really discuss it in great lengths. So, I just want to give some more information to help people better understand the city budget, understand, what's going on here in terms of, fiscal, management. And the reason why is because we don't have money. We don't have money for the important things, right? We don't have money for education. And if you watch the budget meetings recently, that was the big debate. Corazon Pineda Isaac actually came out with the comptroller's report, which is the first time I've seen any council members discuss it at a meeting, specifically a budget meeting, and talk about some of the key findings, right? Which are very important. They're supposed to review the New York State Comptroller's report and make some changes and make amendments. But first, I want to start here with a comprehensive review report, City of Yonkers. This is from the state also. And I wanted to start with salaries and compensations, right? We obviously all know the City of Yonkers pays very well. Their employees do extremely well. Some do a lot more better than others, right? Maybe not always deserving of it, but they get paid very well here in the City of Yonkers, right? So I want to discuss that really quick and show you these contractual salary increases by years, right? So really quick, I'll read the top here. Salaries and other compensations. Bargaining agreements for both the city and the school district provided salary increases ranging from 2.5% to 4% in fiscal 2019. So this is 2019, just for clarity. But I want to show you the increases and just to give you an idea. Over the past 10 years, the timing of salary increases for each unit has varied. Several provided larger raises near the end of the agreements. Contracts for the 4 public safety unions provided successively larger salary increases, starting at 1% in fiscal 2010 and ending at 4% in fiscal 2018 and 2019. AFSCME agreements from fiscal 2008 to 2020 also gradually increased salary growth, peaking at 3% in 2019 and 2020. By contrast, SEIU Local 704 and the main Teamsters units receive modest annual increases ranging from 1% to 3%, with the exception of 2014, when they received a 7% raise. Notably, after several years with no salary increases, Teamsters management employees for the school district received a 17% raise in fiscal 2015. Next fiscal year, 2020, SCME Local 1897, the SEIU Library Unit, and the School District Teamsters Management will receive a salary increase of 3%. City Teamsters Management, Teamsters, and school administrators received a 3.5% that year. CSEA school employees 5%. Teachers, school administrators, and CSEA will received another 3% increase in fiscal 2021. Teamsters Management and School District received a 4% increase that year as well. And so I just want to show you here, starting from 2010 to up to 2019, you can see the increases. And let me bring that up a little more. And you can see that there. Get myself out the way and get this out the way. How do I get this out the way? There we go. And you can see for 2010, police, 2011, 1%, then 2012, 1.5%, 2013, 1.5%, 2014, 1.5%, then that doubled to 3%, 3% up to 4% in 2019. Police brass, same thing. Firemen, same increases, fire brass as well. And then I don't know what these SEIU Local 704, 0%, 0.5%, 1.5% increase. But then they jumped to 4.5% in 2014, then back down to 3.9. Not sure why it's jumping like that. And anybody who knows, maybe can give some information there, comment. And then SEIU Local Library, Local 704B Library, whatever that means, didn't receive any 2010 to 2012. They started to go up a little bit, but in 2015, they jumped up to 7% and then back down to 1% where they remain. I'm not sure if anyone maybe can give me some information as to why that actually happened. So you can see there, as increases in salaries, in the contractual salary increases started to get larger and larger. And why is that? But, and these are things we have to consider, right? Our city officials have to consider this because we are constantly crying broke when it comes to our children, our schools, infrastructure, a lot of the important needs that impact the residents every day. And I want to go over this also really quick. Revenues, just to give you an idea of where the city generates its revenue from, right? This, again, is important to know. The city relies on 5 main categories of revenue: property taxes, special taxes, including sales tax and city's income tax surcharge, state and federal aid, departmental income, such as parking violations, right, receipts, and other revenues, more than half of which are from pilot agreements, right? Collectively, these categories account for 92.6% of general fund revenue. So that's the 5 main categories there. So I just wanted to give that information. Education fund. This is our schools. More than half of the budget is attributable to various forms of state aid. More than half. So when the officials are always blaming the state, they don't give us enough, they don't give us enough. They don't name anyone. They just say the state. You ever find that interesting? I do, right? We receive more than half of the education funding from the state. It includes general state funding, categorical aid, video lottery terminals, funding and adjustments for prior year aid. State aid accounts for $326.3 million, or 53% of the current year education against its 2019. The property tax and sales tax transfers from the general fund represent a combined $261.6 million, or 42.4%. The remaining revenue includes appropriated fund balance. So you see over 53% in 2019, and that's still the same. The state gives the city of Yonkers a lot of money for education. It's just the fact that the city of Yonkers is not doing their part. They're not managing the revenue that they generate each year properly. And the state comptroller has said that. I'm going to go over here really quick. Expenditures. I just wanted to go over the city's expenses, right? This doesn't include the schools. The city's 2019 adopted budget includes nearly $1.2 billion in expenditures, of which $575.2 million are for city purposes, and at that year, $615.6 million was for the public schools. But let's take a look at the departments. City departments total $278,064,200, Water Bureau, 29 million, just under $30 million. Sewer Bureau, just under 4 million. The museum, 250,000. Library, $9.7 million. Fringe benefits, right? Those are pensions and stuff. Health insurance, 166 million, 166,325,634, right? 166,325,634 just for benefits, pensions, which is why it's important that we watch how much individuals are receiving their last 3 years. It is a known fact that they will work to increase their salary the last 3 years so they can average out a nice pension. You heard Lorraine Lopez. She said when she was kicked out because she was a spick, quote unquote, and the mayor went after her with false allegations, right? She retired with a nice benefit. She retired with a lot of money. So they get good money. So these individuals, like these council members who fall asleep in their office, as you see the latest picture that was shared and posted of Mike Breen, get paid their pensions long after they're gone. They're getting paid to do the same thing when they're gone. Nothing, as they were doing when they're here. And that cost us a lot of money. That prevents us from improving our school districts, improving our roads, having police presence at Getty Square and other downtown, permanent police presence, right? Foot patrols. Some individuals make a salary to which you could pay 2 police officers. It's all about money management. It's all about money management and watching individuals from stealing money, right? As I mentioned earlier, the protected class. Individuals that get away with leaving work 2 hours early, maybe not even showing up to work, clocking in a bunch of overtime hours that they did not earn. Theft of time. How much money is the city losing? Because they don't watch this. They don't manage, they don't supervise the money right. And I'm going to show you. I'm going to give you some examples. The state comptroller has come across some areas where they lack some real protocols or, these measures that will watch the money, assure that we know where the money's going, that we're not losing money, that we're not misplacing assets that were purchased for the schools. Where did this, these assets go? Almost $300,000 in assets purchased by the city for the school district, gone, missing, MIA. Where did it go? Where did it go? And so who's watching this? Where's the oversight? Who's in charge of making sure we are not having property stolen, time stolen, right? It's a damn shame. Homeowners will have to pay more taxes so our schools waste time and money to educate illegals. Well, that's another concern many residents have as they have bus individuals here, mainly single moms with children who will be attending our public schools if they remain here in the city of Yonkers. We are over capacity by 4,500 students as it is. And now we're adding more. And where will the money come from? How can we ever get ahead? How can we ever get ahead? Not by adding a $5 million. So the 4 big education funding and student needs, right? So they always blame the state and they always cry how Buffalo gets more money. It's not fair. We know we need to go up there and fight. It's not us. It's the state. It's not fair. Well, let's look at the 4 schools here. Yonkers, Buffalo, Rochester, and Syracuse. Buffalo has 40,000, almost 41,000 students. They receive from the state $787 million compared to Yonkers, $319 million. Syracuse didn't receive much more. And they don't have much less students. Rochester got 675. This is 2019 again. But here's the reasons why, and I'm going to give you some more reasons, right? Medium home value in Yonkers, $379,500. Again, this is 2019 versus that of Buffalo, $72,000. Rochester, $77,000. Syracuse, $89,000 for a home. What does that mean? Well, people in Yonkers are paying higher property taxes, which is used to fund schools. If you purchased a home at $72,000, you're not going to be paying the same taxes as if you purchased a home at $379,000. And so that's what the state considers and factors in. You guys are getting a lot more property taxes, and your property values are increasing at a much higher rate than that of these other cities, which many of them are remaining stagnant, not going up at all. Their poverty rate is extremely high. Some of the worst in the country. They are within the top 5 poorest cities in the country, whereas Yonkers is not. And Yonkers is also in one of the richest counties. Granted, we get grouped with Scarsdale, Bronxville, and all these other affluent areas, but Yonkers doesn't do too bad. Where we do bad is the voting. We don't vote good. That's the problem. That's the problem, right? The city council president washed up. She will get twice the pain the corrupt establishment gave to the previous CCP. Payback is a female dog. Well, I don't think the city council president wants to be in office anymore. I don't believe it. I'm not sure what's going to happen. You heard my theory, but we'll see. Also, I want to take a look at this chart really quick as well. Percentage of constitutional tax limit exhausted. Actually, that's not the chart, is it? Wealth, yeah, the wealth here. The wealth of cities, 2003 school year. This is for 2003 again, but this is just for reference. All the big 5 cities are experiencing or have experienced substantial financial distress. In 2003, upon recommendation of the Comptroller, state legislation created the Buffalo Fiscal Stability Authority to address Buffalo's structural deficit and to ensure the long-term fiscal viability of the city. They're poor. In 2004, legislation provided for the acceleration of state aid to Syracuse and Rochester to address current budget gaps and required those cities to prepare multi-year financial plans as conditions of receiving those payments. Right? Let me go down here to talk about Yonkers. Upstate is due to such efforts have confirmed that these cities have limited abilities to increase funding for their municipal programs, including education. Upstate, this is due to lower incomes and property wealth as shown in the chart. Downstate, wealth appears about average in New York City and Yonkers, partly because New York drives the state average due to its size. The metropolitan areas around the 2 downstate cities, however, have much higher than average wealth. Westchester County's wealth, for example, is nearly twice the state average. In addition to below average wealth, upstate cities are dealing with a stagnant property tax base. So that's why Yonkers receives less money than these other individuals. So they won't tell you that in the meeting, right? They never mention this. They'll just say, oh, it's not fair. You hear Mike Breen almost sounding like a kid. It's not fair. It's just not fair. We don't get enough from the city. From the state. They don't give us our fair share. This is a cop-out. And they're not doing their fiduciary duties as council members because they need to find a solution and stop crying about the state. It's even worse when I read this and I understand why the state doesn't give us as much as the other cities. Let's look at this chart here. New York, see it here, New York City. This is Yonkers. We're above New York City in wealth. State average, we're above the state average. Look at where Syracuse, Rochester, and Buffalo are, here in the middle. And so, of course, they're going to get more money. They're not paying their DPW workers $200,000 a year. In fact, the county doesn't even pay their DPW workers $200,000 a year. DPW workers at the county level are making $48,000 a year, $50,000 a year. But Yonkers, because we have so much money, we can afford to pay our guys $200,000, $160,000. And that's the problem, folks. This is why our city suffers and we lack so much. And these developments that were sold to us as, great for the city because they will bring in revenue, they will drive or create jobs, have not done either. We were facing a $32 million school budget deficit, and the city council president would have you believe that the city did such a great job in giving the school the money it needed to cover this deficit, plus an additional $5 million. Well, that's the city's responsibility by law. So they didn't do us any favors. City of Yonkers in 2015, this is the New York State Comptroller's report. We are missing assets in 2015. The Yonkers City School District is the school district of the City of Yonkers. The district operates 39 schools with approximately 26,000 students, blah, blah. Key findings: of the 30 assets we selected to review, 10 were either not tagged or the asset tagged information did not agree with the accounting records. 10 could not be located, 9 could not be located on an asset list, and 20 that were recorded as disposed of did not have a disposal request form from the departments responsible for those assets. So were they disposed or were they given to someone, or did someone decide to dispose it in their house and, with them? Key recommendations: ensure that all fixed assets valued at $500 or greater for insurance purposes and $5,000 or greater for inventory and depreciation purposes have tags affixed to them. Locate the missing inventory items identified in this report. Maintain an accurate assets list and ensure that all disposal request forms are submitted to the district office. So keep track of the assets that the city taxpayers purchase, that we purchase. We purchase. And they go missing. They don't know where they're at. Are people buying things through the city for themselves and then taking it? And it's important to keep track of this for depreciation. That's important for accounting purposes. Assets depreciate, and you have to account for that. So fixed assets, according to district policies, fixed assets such as machinery and equipment represent a significant investment of district resources. District officials are responsible for ensuring assets are protected from loss and records are current and accurate. That's a no-brainer, but we're not doing this here because we're hiring incompetent friends. We're hiring incompetent family members. Give them a job because they're our friend. They don't even have to show up. Screw keeping a track of the inventory. So this comptroller selected 30 assets totaling $377,252. They found that 10 assets valued at $225,307 could not be located. Where did they go? That's $225,000 of taxpayer money gone, stolen. Is the Yonkers Inspector General going to did he investigate this back in 2015? I think it was Brendan McGrath at the time. 10 assets valued at $91,000 were either not tagged or the asset tag information on the tag did not agree with the accounting records. Furthermore, 9 assets valued at $15,354 could not be located or on either the asset list, and 20 assets valued at $21,135 recorded as disposed did not have disposal request forms. So they were taken. They weren't really disposed of. District officials and taxpayers have no assurance that all district property can be accounted for. This is what the state comptroller is saying. Do they care? They're letting them steal it, right? So again, here, key findings. This is in 20 November 22nd, 2019, the clerk's office forfeited 30% of its revenues, $17,241, collected from credit card payments due to the credit card vendor improperly withholding funds. This one is interesting to me. Ice rink collections totaling $5,364 were unaccounted for due to inadequate segregation of duties. Didn't we have an issue at the ice skating rink? Cash was not deposited for as many as 93 days after being collected. Did somebody take a loan? Right. So I want to read a little bit real quick here on the credit card. And I'm wondering who was it a perfect solution? John Rubo Inc. Was that the credit card processing company contracted by the city? City officials contracted with a credit card vendor to provide credit card processing services for various city departments, including the clerk's office. The clerk's office receives monthly credit card statement and pays the credit card vendor directly for processing fees. We selected 10 credit card payments from June 2016 and June 2017 to determine whether the credit card vendor remitted the correct amount of collections to the clerk's office. We found that the credit card company was incorrectly withholding 28% of collections due to a mistake in recording the city's taxpayer identification number. City officials were unaware of this discrepancy because they did not review and reconcile these transactions. There's no oversight. For June 2016, we reviewed 5 credit card collections totaling $888 and found that $639 was deposited into the city clerk's bank account, resulting in a shortage of $249. Where did that money go? For June 2017, we reviewed 5 credit card collections totaling $1,150 and found that $828 was deposited into the clerk's bank account, resulting in a shortage of $322. So it sounds like someone is skimming money here from the city. Who's skimming money here? And that amount is just from a handful of receipts they reviewed. Can you imagine if they did a complete audit? I was just thinking that as I was reading it. Absolutely. But you know what this looks like to me? That's somebody skimming money. They're taking a little bit here, a little bit there. When then reviewed the clerk's credit card statements for July 2015 through June 2017 and found that the vendor remitted $44,069 to the city clerk's bank account when $56,782 had been collected, thereby shorting the city by $12,713. So who is this credit card processing company? And I mentioned a perfect solution, John Rubo Inc. That's the credit card processing company owned by John Rubo, councilman of the 4th District. Is it his company? I don't know. I'm just curious to know. Just curious. So you can find things like this in these reports on the New York State Comptroller's page. Go on there, type in Yonkers in the search bar, and go through these reports. Go through these audits. Read it for yourself. And this is important. During the summer of 2016, the hockey rink, recorded $8,457 for the adult roller hockey league receipts and $8,429 for the adult floor hockey league. We reviewed the summer 2016 adult hockey league fees and found that $11,200 should have been collected for the roller hockey league and $9,600 should have been collected for the floor hockey league. As a result, $2,743 from the roller hockey league and $1,171 from the floor hockey league are unaccounted for. Where is that money? Who is in charge of collecting this money? Youth hockey. During May 2016, 36 manual receipts were issued for youth hockey payments totaling manual receipts. They were written, totaling $2,630. We reviewed the summer receipts for youth hockey and found that $1,580 was recorded. As a result, $1,050 was unaccounted for. Rink rentals. There were 152 rink rentals during the 2016-17 year. We reviewed 10 totaling 2792 that were part of 9 different deposits totaling $187,791 and traced them from issuance to collection to deposit. These combined collections included cash receipts collected for the rink rentals and other ice rink activities. We found that deposit slips for 2 of the collections should have included $400 in cash that have been collected at the rinks but not deposited. So they're taking the cash. This amount consisted of 2 separate cash payments. Wow. And I can go on and 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 on. 2021. I just want to show you this real quick. The budget relies on non-recurring revenue. Okay. 2020 May. City of Yonkers budget requests $661 million for appropriations, which has a budget gap of at least $22.5 million. The city will incur additional debt and interest caused by bonding the cost of tax certiorari. I can't pronounce that word, but that's basically the amount that the city has to pay back to individuals who appealed or protested their property tax value, right? The amount they have to pay. And so instead of the city paying that back with money that the city has generated, they are bonding, putting the city in debt just to pay that back. And they're telling them time and time again not to do that. Again, the city continues to rely on non-recurring revenue, such as fund balance, one-time state funding, and sale of property to balance its budget to cover recurring cost. The state has given us an extra $5 million this year, just this one time. Great. Let's promote our friends and hire our friends and family. And now we got to pay them for the following year, so on and so forth. And now they've increased, they're going to increase the pension, expense over time. And this is why I mention it. Why I mention about an individual who in his last 5 years made over $1.3 million. Why is that important? Because his pension is super fat. And this individual didn't do anything but drive. No disrespect, but you drove for 5 years and you made over $1.3 million? That's crazy. That's unbelievable. And that should be concerning. And the people of the city of Yonkers should have a problem with that. And this is how we let them know where they can find the money. Okay, these are the things that they should not be happening. Look at all the developments going on. None of them are paying the correct permit fees. They are getting the inside discount. I'm sure they are, while they delay me, cause me problems. And guess what? I don't even have to follow this regulation that they're trying to keep me or require me to abide by. It's not. It doesn't pertain to my situation. And I don't know if they're incompetent. I don't know if they purposely delayed me. But this fire guy, Joe Romano, doesn't seem to get it. And I'm telling him, we are have an occupancy load under 50. Group E, educational centers, which include daycares. If you have a occupancy load under 50, you are not required to install a manual fire system. This $10,000 system that they have held us up with. And they're causing us problems because of it. Holding up our money from the state, subsidies. So these people either incompetent, don't know what they're doing, or they're purposely, screwing with me. More, again, relies on 46.8 million of non-recurring revenue. That's time and time again. Again, 2021-22 budget relies on non-recurring revenue, 55.2 million. That's a problem. That's why we are almost $3 billion in debt. That is why we have budget shortfalls. That is why we can never get ahead. That is why we don't have the extra money to fund our schools properly, get our schools to where they need to be so they can be a competitive school in our state, in the country. I see that the mayor's been going around highlighting educational successes recently, and I'm glad. And I like to think that's because I'm putting a lot of pressure on them. We have 8 graduates who got scholarships to various Ivy League schools, I believe. What about the other graduates? What will become of them? Many go on to graduate to make the success of the graduation rate look amazing, but ultimately not succeed in life. Some even end up dead, not even a year after graduation. So what are we doing for those who are not going to Ivy League, the 8 that are not going to Ivy League? The 8 kids that probably didn't do much in school but go to class, which I wish all kids, and I tell my kids to be this way. Socializing is not for school. Go there to learn. And that's probably what these kids did. I'd imagine, these are the good, right? The nerds, as we would call them. And I tell my kids that's what I want them to be. I'm a nerd as well. I grew up in the hood, right? So congratulations to them. But there are so many that graduate that do not achieve much success after high school. And that is a, percentage, a rate that you wouldn't want to know. They wouldn't want you to know how many graduate to end up doing nothing. So what's the point of graduating? Again, 2022-23 budget relies on non-recurring money. Same thing. Are they paying attention to this? Do they care? And this is our recent audit here. Key findings: continues to rely on $112.3 million in non-recurring revenues, such as appropriated fund balance, one-time state aid, and sale of property to finance its operation. Includes revenue estimates for income tax, surcharge, sales, and use tax, as well as city and state mortgage tax that may not be achievable. Results in additional debt and interest costs because the cost of tax certiorari's, whatever they call claims, are bonded instead of being financed through the operating budget. So this amount of money that they have to pay homeowners is being bonded. They're issuing debt in order to pay that. Includes $8.5 million for contractual settlements. 5 of the city's 8 union collective bargaining agreements have expired or will expire soon. The city could face additional expenditures when these contracts are settled. Includes a $5.5 million general fund contingency reserve. This amount is less than 1% of the city's general fund budgeted appropriation. This amount may exhaust the current amount budgeted, leaving a limited flexibility to cover any other unforeseen or unexpected costs. Includes $99.7 million to service its debt obligations. This amount represents about 7.1% of the city's annual budget. Includes a tax levy of $414,697,043. The city's proposed budget also includes the Yonkers Public School District. It's structurally unbalanced with a budget gap of at least $33 million, which they had to go bond to get that money. Overstates, or they got it. I think they got it. That's what Lakeisha was saying. They got from their general fund. Either way, she was saying the city covered that. You're supposed to. That is what you're legally obligated to. You didn't do any favors for anyone. Overestimate state funding for basic aid by approximately $1.2 million. Relies on $12 million of additional state aid for services and expenses which may not be available in future years. Does not include a specific appropriation for contractual settlements. 3 of the district CBAs expired on June 30th, 2021, and 1 of the district CBAs expires June 30th, 2022. The district could face additional expenditures when these contracts are settled. Likely underestimates charter school tuition payments by approximately $687,000. That's the Charter School of Excellence, and the workers' compensation appropriation by approximately $300,000. Right. So that charter school thing, you guys got to look at. Man, develop a plan. The key recommendations: develop a plan to maintain fund balance at a reasonable level and discontinue the practice of relying on one-time revenues to finance recurring expenditures. Review the estimates for income tax, surcharge, sales and use tax, as well as the city, state, mortgage tax, and amend as necessary. Consider adjusting the appropriation for the tax certioria, or whatever. Somebody's got to help me with that. Payments, and provide a financing source for those. Review the estimate of the city's contractual settlements and the potential need for the district's contractual settlement and amend as necessary. Review the outstanding debt and review alternatives to borrowing. Stop borrowing. Eliminate the $33 million gap in his district's budget. So that was your job, Lakeisha. You didn't do us any favors. And the rest of you city councils, I don't want to just pick on her. Review the estimate for the charter school payments because they're probably getting overpaid. I hear that they got $50 million to build that high school. They spent about 30, pocketed 20, but they're supposed to give that money back. Give it back, and that's why they are going to outperform our Yonkers public schools. They get to select which students they want. They are better funded, right? They're smaller, no knocking them, but I'm just saying, if the schools here in the city of Yonkers had the same setup, right? The same business model, get more money than we spend, keep some money in the pocket, have smaller classrooms, give amazing programming and stuff like that, and a curriculum that's awesome, do extracurricular activities with parents regularly, yeah, we could perform that way as well, I'm sure. And that's where we need to get our public schools up to par, right? And we're never going to do that by continuing to be behind the 8 ball, by continuing to increase our expenses, because we get one-shot deals, right? That's not a reason to do that. We have to watch the spending, the employee overtime, who's taking overtime, where's this money that's going missing, where are the assets that have gone missing, why isn't anyone keeping better track of these things? Imagine, as John Limo said, this is just a small sample size that the city comptroller, takes into account. If they were to do an entire audit, there'd probably be millions and millions of dollars wasted, missing, misappropriated, deposited into personal bank accounts, I'm just saying. And so we have to, hold our elected officials accountable. Dear Mayor Spano and the city council members, Chapter 55 of the laws of 2014 authorizes the city of Yonkers, subject to certain requirements, to issue serial bonds not to exceed $45 million to liquidate deficits in the city school district's general fund as of June 30th, 2014, although this letter is written May 16, 2023. So again, Chapter 55 of the laws of 2014 authorizes the city to issue bonds not to exceed $45 million to liquidate deficits in the city's school district's general fund, which is that $33 million deficit that I mentioned there, right? Additionally, Chapter 55 requires the city to submit to the state comptroller and the Commission of Education, starting with the fiscal year during which it was authorized to issue obligations, and for each subsequent fiscal year during which the deficit obligations are outstanding, the bonds, the debt, is proposed budget for the next succeeding fiscal year. The proposed budget must be submitted no later than 30 days. This is what they have to follow, right? So I want you guys to know this. Before the day scheduled for the city council's vote on the adoption of the final budget, or the last date on which the budget may be finally adopted, whichever is earlier. The state comptroller and the Commissioner of Education must then examine the proposed budget and make recommendations as deemed appropriate after examining the city's estimates of revenues and expenditures. The city council, no later than 5 days prior to the adoption of the budget, must review all recommendations made by the state comptroller and the Commissioner of Education and make adjustments to its proposed budget consistent with the recommendations made by the state comptroller and the Commissioner of Education. But it doesn't seem like they do that. The state comptroller's recommendation on the city's proposed budget for the 2023-24 fiscal year are contained in this report. Our office has recently completed a review of the city proposed budget for 2023-24 fiscal year. The objective of the review was to provide an independent right? Not a PFK O'Connor or whatever they are, evaluation of the proposed budget. And so I mentioned to you already what some of the concerns were there. And that's it there, folks. So I know this was not the most exciting, but it's informative, and it's important for you guys to review that, to go over this and understand, what's going on with our money situation here. How are they managing the money? Why are we having problems with funding the schools? Because we are. We're not funding our schools properly. That's a fact. And as someone mentioned, we're getting, migrants being brought here, single parents with kids who will be entering UPK, elementary schools. And we are already short 4,500 seats, right? And our classes are already over, capacity in each classroom, right? They're probably violating the building department codes, I'm sure, right? You have 28 kids, 29 kids, 30 kids in a classroom, and then you get individuals that may not speak the language, as you get, individuals from other countries to come here, migrants and stuff. That presents other challenges. So, it's a lot going on. It's a lot going on, and our city officials need to put more of a focus on our education and improving it, making sure that our kids have what they need. Not just, sports, arts, and music, the arts. Absolutely, we need that. But in terms of the education, the curriculum, and that they're learning things that are actually going to benefit them. So when they do graduate, right? Because, the graduation rate is so high here in the city of Yonkers that they're most likely going to graduate, but they actually become successful adults. That's the big, that's the point. That's the reason why, right? We want them to be successful adults, not just to push them through and get them to graduate so we can say, hey, look, we got a 94, 95, whatever graduation rate. We're doing amazing, but we're just pushing them through. And so kids are coming out of high school with diplomas, but no real, future outlook, no real skills, no understanding of the world, right? At all. So that's what we need to make sure that we're providing kids with, opportunities after high school, right? Showing them what's out there, giving them the information, and then working with them so that when they succeed, more kids are going to college. More kids are not just Ivy League. You could go to a state school. It doesn't matter, right? But if that's not for you, hey, we have these programs in our school set up for those who want to go straight into the workforce, right? And we can connect you with these different resources to do that. That's what we need to be focusing on, improving the schools that way, all right? So, and we need 2 more schools. We need to renovate a lot of these schools because our kids are sitting in buildings that have all kinds of issues, whether it's the HVAC systems, the heating, the AC not working. You have mold, chip paints, you have leaks, lockers that don't work, right? There's a lot of stuff that needs to be improved in many of the schools, many of them, right? And we're talking about $500 million in either renovations or in schools that are needed. And some of them, the schools, are the ones that parents fight to get their kids in, like the DeCharos and the Pulaski's. Well, you should see how much money they need in renovations, right? It's a lot that they need. So, and it's a big deal. And probably a lot of the reasons they don't want to do these renovations is because, if you do renovate to certain buildings, if you, start to take down walls or whatever, and you do, let's say 60% or whatever more of the building is being renovated, you have to, then adhere to certain guidelines, especially when it comes to if the buildings have asbestos and stuff like that, and maybe they disrupt that, disturb the asbestos, then they have to remove it. And so they rather not do that. So just leave it alone, right? So, it could be many reasons, outside of just not having the money, because it's important. Our kids need to be in a safe place, in a place where they can truly learn and go on to be successful adults, maybe one day be prominent like the protected class here in the city of Yonkers. By the way, Albie from CSEA, I accept your challenge, the challenge that I put forth first. I'm with it. I'm definitely with it. Let me know. I'm serious. Let's do this charity thing. Let's raise some money. Our schools could use it. You work for the schools. Well, you did one day. Now you're just the president and you hang out in Puerto Rico. But back when you were working in the schools, remember, the schools, you were, I think, in the janitorial. So you of all people should really know what it is our schools need. So let's do it. Let's set up a boxing match. Maybe we could do it during the YPD, YFD boxing match. And, we raise some money for charity. Are you with it? Let me know. I'm accepting your challenge. So just tell me the day. Let's prepare. So I will have to, get a little bit into shape, just my stamina. But as far as my boxing skills, I think I'm still there with that. So I'm ready. I'm ready, Albie. I'm ready. So if you don't say anything, if you don't, you know what I mean, then you suck it out. You punked out. All right. Everybody look out there. Martin Gill. Yeah, Alfredo. That's my name. Thank you for calling me by my full name. Then I wonder you being, funny about it. But yeah, Alfredo, that's my name. Thank you. You can call me Freddie though. It's fine. Anyway, folks, I'm Freddie Vasquez, Basic Politics. And again, look, I put out information in regards to, what I talked about earlier, because it's not okay. Certain individuals get protected. Certain individuals, get to leave work early, abuse the system. They abuse their power. They're entitled. They disrespect supervisors. They can get away with it, right? And it's not okay because that, it rubs people the wrong way within the work environment, workplace. You have this, kind of, this tension in there, this environment, and so it's not really good for conducive for the productivity of the city employees. There's problems. And if, one of the individuals that ends up in a problem with, if someone ends up in a problem with these protected class, they lose their job, right? Even if the individual that's from the protected class is the one that started the incident that provoked it. I mean, look, again, I'm going back to a police officer that was recently hired that was known to have problems within, a previous department they had worked at, right? And from, drug use to aggressive behavior, right? To creating problems for other people. They're responsible for individuals getting terminated. They're responsible for people getting beat the hell up at charity events, at fundraisers. Yet and still they get hired to be police officers. That's not okay. That presents a liability out in the street. If this individual snaps, beats somebody up, we got to pay now these lawsuits, right? And or kill somebody, God forbid. And there's so many great people that have applied to be Yonkers police officers. And there are a lot of great officers that already are Yonkers police officers. Why is it that these individuals, an individual like that, would get this certain special considerations? I wonder this. Why is it that individuals that present liabilities get these special considerations? I mean, felons, those abusing cocaine, those who have committed assault. I mean, the guy that worked for the city that came to my house, he's a felon. And he's a felon for assault. He committed some felony assault. And so what kind of threat does that present to me? I mean, you're known, you have a history of, assaulting people to the point where it's a felony. I don't want you on my property, uninvited, unannounced, knowing that we got beef. That's a dangerous situation. Because I will defend myself. I'll take the jail time. Listen, like they say, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6, right? And that's always going to be the motto I operate by. But, that's dangerous. I mean, how is that okay? How do you have individuals that have committed armed robbery, right? Hitting, business owners with pistol whipping them while employed by the city, and then they go to jail for 5 years, become a felon, come back out and get their job and get hired again, right? And they have this sense of entitlement that nobody's going to do nothing, and they put it on full display. That's not okay. I'm just saying, I'm just saying. Police supervisors can't even write up protected individuals. I know this is a problem. Supervisors can't write them up. They can do whatever they want. They can, abuse drugs. They commit crimes. They get away with it, but they'll, snatch you up real quick, plant drugs on you, like Danny Sullivan. I believe your story, Danny. Danny had drugs planted on him. He was arrested falsely, charged, convicted, and that altered the trajectory of his life because it cost him a good job that he probably could be retiring from today. And he wants his apologies. He wants, his justice that he's due, man. And that's messed up. And so this is what I mean. These protected individuals are hired to be police officers, people with a lot of power. And if they are known for behaving in this manner, right, and they don't care the fact that they're police officers and that people see them, What will they do out in the street as a police officer? Will they plant drugs? Will they target individuals, right? And stalk them and harass them and, give them tickets and, plant drugs on them maybe even one day. That's why you got to put cameras up. Make sure you get cameras in your vehicles. Make sure you have cameras in your homes. Make sure you have cameras on your body. Make sure you have recorders on your body. That's just the way it is. It's how it is here in Yonkers, especially if you are someone who speaks out like me. But yeah, so I put the information out there. I'm not putting the name out there because, look, for now, I'm going to just let you know the information. That's what's going on here in the city of Yonkers. A lot of employees are fed up with it, and, it's not okay. A lot of people have been passed up on promotions, for people who are part of the protected class, part of the friends and family network. People who just come in with supervisor positions right off the bat. And that has rubbed a lot of people the wrong way and left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. So if that is you, make sure you email me at politicwithfred@gmail.com, politicwithfred@gmail.com. Give me the information. We'll talk about it out right here on Basement Politics. Folks, thank you. Have a beautiful weekend. Stay safe. Stay blessed. Watch your back because they got felons on the payroll.
Ready, win.
We got to go back to the shooting range. You got to aim again. Take the M&P. Take that out. I'm Freddie Vasquez, a licensed gun owner. That's right, Brian Harrod. I'm not a armed, unstable, crazy guy. The fact that I can purchase a weapon, a firearm, legally in a matter of 30 minutes, they do background checks before you buy them every time. It says a lot. It says you have nothing to worry about, Freddie Vasquez, because I am a legal gun owner. I follow the law. That's who I am. So, unfortunately, Brian, you are someone that cannot purchase a gun legally because of your past. So is your buddy, Rue, right? Don't want him using that gun to commit child sex crimes. What if he's part of the sex trafficking operation? Maybe that's why he's protected.
Ready, wins. Fatality.
Again, officials, I will be, putting you on the spot next time I see you guys. I have my paper, my news article, and I'm going to read it to you, and I'm going to want to hear your response live for the people. How is it that you do business and engage with a convicted pedophile who abused this poor girl, who was crying on the stands, who ran home after it happened, who still lives here in the city of Yonkers? In fact, her family works for the city of Yonkers. But they must not be a part of the protected class.
Ready, wins. Fatality.
You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddie Vasquez.
By the way, I'm also hearing, from individuals who have been emailing me about potential racism. That's something also I'm going to talk about with Anthony DiMaggio, who will be on tomorrow night. Don't forget, tomorrow night, Anthony DiMaggio will be on. And, I thought I was hacked, but I received an email from the streaming program. They were having an issue getting onto Facebook. So I was a little concerned that they might have hacked my page, but there was something going on with that. So I will be on with Anthony DiMaggio tomorrow. Make sure you tune into that. I know we're going to discuss, he had mentioned something about, the lack of black police officers, the lack of black, high-ranking members of the brass police officers here in the city of Yonkers. You have one or two here. And I know I've seen one officer. She's a female black officer. You got it made in the shade because I don't see her do anything other than Con Edison jobs. That's it. I said she is steamed up, as Anthony DiMaggio say, steamed up. But does the city of Yonkers have an issue with black people? I mean, it's one thing, Hispanics were 43%. We're needed with these votes and petitions, right? Black population here in the city of Yonkers actually been dwindling thanks to some black women helping them get pushed out. That's crazy. That's what I mean. I keep it real. You may not like how I say it, but I say, and that's the truth. You guys voted for stuff that have been pushing black people out, cost black people their homes, black homeowners their properties. That's right. That's right. A black elderly man has his property being listed for sale when he has no interest in selling it. Are you guys looking into that? Shanae Williams, that's your district. By the way, you crashed cars too, Shanae. You were sued, and so was the city because of a accident that you got into with a city vehicle. So how dare you speak on corazón? What hypocrisy. They think that you're too stupid to find these things out. Or maybe they're just too stupid to remember. I don't know. But I'm hearing about an issue with the blacks here in the city of Yonkers, specifically in employment. How many black heads of departments do we have? How many black supervisors, high-ranking managers? And why is it that it seems like many black women, especially, are let go just before their probationary period is over within the city of Yonkers Public Schools? This is something that I've have gotten information on. Is there a issue with black women? Are they targeting the Yonkers Public Schools? How many black administrators do we have? How many black department heads do we have? How many black counselors, social workers, head teachers? I mean, we do have a large student population that's black. They are the second largest. So what's going on here? To the black women who are in our city council, I mean, this should be important to you. You should take this on personally as a woman, as a black woman, and look into this. And you should be working to see more black individuals in department head positions, more administrators within our schools, higher up ranking police officers within our Yonkers Police Department. And so I'm going to talk about that with Anthony DiMaggio as well. So make sure you tune into that. NAACP, I'm saying, I'm getting the emails. I'm Freddie Vasquez, Basement Politics. Have a beautiful weekend. I'm going to keep it on as always. I'm going to keep rocking and rolling because they want me to be an investigative journalist, not a daycare owner.
Freddie wins.
I'll take it. And when I actually become an official journalist, to those that email me and you know, and write me and call me a journalist, and I often say that's not who I am. I'm just a resident who's fed up and wants to put the information out there. So please don't hold me to these journalistic, boundaries or, way of operating, because I'm always been rogue and I'm not really a journalist. But, if I do go there full time, then I will consider myself a journalist, and we'll be rocking and rolling for sure.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
I'll dig full time.
Game over.
No!